Hey there, and welcome to a new devlog in a new year. So yeah, let's get right into it. Last time I tried to get everything back into the game after I updated the Action RPG plugin, and now everything is finally back in the game again. Except for the rework of the foliage. What it just works again. I don't know what, I'm just making the video. I'm trying to capture stuff and it just works again. Okay, I'll take it. Well, back to the script again. Here I want to look into Unreal's new procedural content generation system, short PCG, but I'm a bit torn apart on that topic, because I love handcrafted worlds and I don't know to which extent I will use the system. For that I also updated the Unreal version to the version 5.3, which worked without many problems. And from now on I'll stick to that Unreal and plugin version and don't update them further to ensure to not have to remake something again. Next up I was building many new houses for the Rune Town mentioned in the last devlog. I also made some new modular asset pieces to build some towers in the game to kind of have more variety of buildings that can be used to build the world. All of this took quite a while and I never got around to actually building the Rune Town, because I had to shift the focus of the work a bit to finally get something ready so that people can test the game for the first time. Which means the focus shifted to making a part of the hub area ready and linking that to the main map so players can go into the level and extract from it to save their well-earned loot. For now, this little tavern will serve as the hub area. The hub area will be extended to a more island-like area in the future. I want to capture a similar mood to Majula in Dark Souls 2 as mentioned in an earlier devlog. At the moment we have a player stash and the portal in the hub area. Next up I want to add a quest board so that the players can accept quests and get rewards and stuff like that. Some more assets were needed to create the hub area, so I made some more tables, chairs, shelves, a chandelier and some miscellaneous stuff like bottles and so on. For the bottles I also made a glass shader. It's okay, but I think it needs some more work to be really perfect. Oh yeah, and I also made this fireplace with a fire effect, which I really love and I'm probably way too proud of. But yeah, that was it for the hub area. Let's take another look at the enemies and combat. I altered the behavior of the enemies slightly, so now the melee enemies will still run towards the players and swarm them, but after they have attacked, they will strafe around the players and after a random amount of time, between a min and max value depending on the enemy type, they will do another attack. This change makes them a bit less predictable and the players have to be careful about when they dodge or parry. The next thing that got added and changed a bit is how the staggering of enemies works now. Enemies can be staggered by hitting them, but after they got staggered, they will have a short period of time where they are immune to getting staggered again. This time window can be changed depending on every enemy. Every stagger will also interrupt the attack that an enemy is doing at the moment. So if your attack lands before the enemy's attack, you will interrupt them and take no damage. But this is also true the other way around. So if the enemy is faster than you, he will interrupt your attack. Enemies can also have different stagger types depending on how much damage they receive from one attack. Which means if the hit does a lot of damage, the stagger animation will be longer and the enemy needs more time to recover. At the moment the calculation of this is very basic and straightforward. It works like this. If the damage the enemy receives is higher than the stagger threshold of that particular enemy, the enemy will get staggered. If the damage number is even higher than the heavy stagger threshold, the enemy will get the heavy stagger animation. I also thought about implementing it in a similar way like Dark Souls does it, for example with poise values and stuff like that. But in the end I think this would just overcomplicate the mechanic and equipment. Like if I don't want the enemy or the players to get staggered if they wear heavy armor, then the armor just needs to absorb as much damage that the threshold for the stagger is not reached. Designing it like this makes it much easier to explain that mechanic to players. Of course, maybe some playtests in the end show that this approach isn't the right one, but then I can change that around afterwards. The next thing that got added to the game is parrying. Players now have the ability to parry an enemy attack. If an attack got parried successfully, the enemy gets stunned by playing a corresponding animation. The parry system works with animation timings. Every parry animation has specific parry frames. If the players get attacked while these are active, the attacker will get parried. At the moment, every weapon uses the same parry animation. This will change later on. Like, you can parry with a heavy weapon, but the parry animation will take longer and has different parrying frames. So you need to learn the different parry timings for the different weapon types. As of now, I want to allow the players to parry with every weapon, because I think parrying is pretty fun and it's kind of a mini game in the game. At the moment there aren't any finisher moves if the enemy is in a parried state, but these will be added later. For now you can just get some free hits in. Oh, and you can also parry projectiles like arrows or later on some spells. Sadly, I wasn't able to let people test the game at the end of the year because so much was going on and I always felt like it's not ready yet to be tested. But this will change on the 15th, where my old university holds an open gameplay testing session and I will attend there. And I will even attend when I think that it's not ready yet, because I have to push myself a bit and break the ice and let people playtest. Oh yeah, and finally I changed the grass texture to fit in more with the ground. This was a kind of often requested topic. I also had some time over the holidays to think a bit about the lore of the game, and I now know exactly what the Oath of Despair is and how it got triggered. More on that in a future devlog. Let's now talk about financing. Financing is a very big topic and it can differ greatly for any project and any indie team. I believe that transparency in this topic is very important, so that anybody who is interested in the game can see what is going on. It's also super interesting for other indie devs who kind of want to figure out how to finance their own projects. And yeah, there are many different ways and methods to kind of finance your project. And I will just go over how I'm doing stuff right now and what my plans are for the future. I hope by sharing this I can help some people with their own projects and also shed some light on the making of Calamity. I started work on this project full-time in January 2023, basically a year ago, but to be honest I don't really count in the January of that year because I was sick the whole month and I got nothing done. Since then I'm financing the project by myself with savings that I have. I wouldn't recommend doing this to anyone else, because seeing your savings fade away can be very stressful and you have to be a person who can deal with that. For me it was the right choice though, because I really cherished this year and I learned quite a lot of stuff. If you want to try making a game this way regardless, I would recommend to you that you are giving yourself a time and/or budget limit that you will spend on the project, and also make it very clear to yourself that you will not get this money back, because you can never be sure that your game will be successful. I would rather recommend to start off financing your own project in a safer way. This would be to have a full-time or half-time job which covers your expenses and you're making the game on the side. And you shift gradually into making the game full-time when it gets more attention. Of course, this will result in a way longer development cycle, but you will be financially stable, which, well, is a good thing. As for the next steps of Calamity, I set a budget for myself that would cover 1 year of development time. This time would now be over, but fortunately I didn't spend that much money last year and my budget will allow me to push through until I think the end of May, more or less. So what's the plan moving forward then? Well, first off, I set up a Patreon page. People now can support me financially and help me to continue work on Calamity full time. What's really important for me here is that if you consider supporting me on Patreon, you only do so if you have the spare money for that. Please first look out for yourselves. But yeah, if you want to support me there, link is in the description. Also, watching, liking and sharing the videos helps out immensely, so thank you all for that. I also can earn a bit of money with ad revenue from YouTube now. Even if it's not much, it's a start. So let's look at some scenarios for the financing. The ideal scenario would be that I can make enough money with YouTube, Twitch and Patreon to completely support myself, working full-time on Calamity. Sadly, reaching this until the end of May is unlikely, so there are some more options here. Earlier this year, there will be another round of funding for video games from the state of Hamburg, and I will apply for that. If I would receive that funding, I would be safe again for one additional year working full-time on Calamity. But again, this is funding that is open to everyone in Hamburg and they only have a certain amount of money to give out, so not every project will get funded, which means that I can't count on getting that funding, but of course I will try. A third option would be trying to get a publisher who would help with financing of the game. I personally like to have a publisher, but of course getting a publisher isn't that easy, and I also have certain expectations on a publisher and I wouldn't take just anyone. There are some I would love to work with though, like New Blood Interactive, Raw Fury, Devolver, 3D Realms or Hyperstrange to name a few. But yeah, getting this on the way until the end of May is, to be honest, also not that likely, because even if there is mutual interest, setting up contracts and stuff takes some time. And even before I want to pitch to a publisher, the game needs a bit more polish. So what will happen if YouTube, Twitch and Patreon are not enough to finance me, I don't get the funding, no publisher is interested in the game and my savings are running out? Well, if all of this happens, I will have to start a normal day job again to pay the bills, but I will continue making Calamity. This would mean that the development will be slower and devlogs will come out less frequently, but I will continue working on Calamity. I really want to make that game, and if it takes 10 years or so, then so be it. In the end, there's no rush for me. I want to do this and my mind keeps going back to that game idea, so I think I'll stick with it for a long time. Of course, it would be incredible if I could keep working on it full time, but for now I will enjoy the days working on it until I have to get a day job again. But as mentioned, there's a chance of getting funding and I'll definitely try to get this. So yeah, I hope I could shed some light on how I'm financing the game. I'm not sure if any of this will help other devs with their quest of finding financing, but yeah, I hope at least it helped a little or gave some perspective. Yeah, so that's it for now, and yeah, thank you guys again for watching the videos, subscribing and liking and all of that stuff. You guys are awesome, and yeah, see you in the next devlog. Come on. You all are seeing it as well, don't you? He's basically banana guard.